So I'm another year older. Yeah, so last week was my birthday. And now I am 35. I am officially in my mid-30s, however you want to think of that. And as usual, when a birthday comes around, it's a very natural thing to reflect on life, to kind of evaluate where you are, and where you want to be, and who you want to be as a person. So I don't do it much. I don't reveal too much of my personal life, although this channel kind of goes against that thought. And that's kind of the idea. It's to help me step out a bit as an introvert and to kind of put myself out there a little more while at the same time staying in control and being able to stay, slightly in my comfort zone. Anyways, I digress. But yeah, reflecting on my life. It's a weird thing to do. It's a good thing. And it's necessary sometimes, I think. So it's one of those where I found myself, as I turned 35, looking back at where my life is and where I'm going with it. This last year, really even just the last probably 4 months, I've made some changes in my life. Good changes. Nothing bad or, life-altering necessarily, but changes that, while good and obviously necessary since I felt the need to make them, probably should have happened a long time ago, if you will. Definitely one of them I would say I should have done a long time ago. But at least I'm doing it now. Enough vagueness. Basically, in the last 2 months, two things have happened. One, which was actually the second thing to happen, but I'm probably not going to talk about it as much, is the fact that I'm changing positions at my work. I took the job I work currently 2.5 years ago. Originally, I took it mostly for financial reasons. I had been at a job before that I loved. It was a good job. I enjoyed it. It wasn't perfect. It definitely had its problems and the things that, we all struggle with at any job we do. But in general, it was a good job and I enjoyed it. But financially, it didn't cut it. I'm a father. I'm a husband. I have a home that I have to take care of. I have a family to support. And my wife works too, don't get me wrong. It's not like I'm the only one bringing in an income. But even together, it wasn't enough. And we don't live rich. We're not in some giant mansion. We don't drive fancy cars. My car is 10 years old. It runs great, which is good. But, we're not poor either, if you will. I hate to say it. I guess we're middle class. But we were hitting a financial point where our income wasn't supporting our needs. Basically, yeah, it's simple. We weren't even trying to do anything fancy, but just keeping up with bills, finances and expenses and everything that comes along in life. We were struggling. So I had to make that choice to leave a job for a new one. And I went to a company I knew other people had worked for. They all had good things to say. The company gets great reviews. I knew it was a good company to go into. It's a very physical job, a very labor-intensive job, if you will. I work 12-hour shifts. I started out at 8 hours when I got hired, but they switched to 12-hour shifts a year and a half ago. It's a manufacturing plant, is what it is, a factory, if you will. And so it's one of those jobs I took out of necessity. And so the position I'm in, I never wanted to be in for a long term. And I think that's the main thing, is I took the job initially because it does pay quite a bit more. And it has helped us get ourselves back on track financially and on our feet and getting everything balanced well and living within our means plus a little extra is the way to put it. Like I said, we're not living rich, but we're able to pay our bills. We're able to have fun. We're able to take trips like last weekend, and do things that we couldn't so comfortably do in the past. Anyways, so I took this job, but it wasn't meant to be a long-term thing. So the company has a policy whenever you either first get hired into the company or you change positions, you are required to stay in that position for at least a year. And so I did that. And then once my year was up, I started putting in any time new positions opened up, bids came out for positions, things like that. I would put in for anything that interested me. And finally I got one. And so I'm going to be changing probably within the next 2 to 3 months. I'm going to be switching. They're opening a new facility, and I'm going to be going to that, doing a different type of job, not so labor intensive, more logistics based. So that's one big change. It should, hopefully, they don't know what the schedule is going to look like 100% yet. Hopefully, it's going to be a Monday to Friday, daytime only, very, stereotypical job in that respect. Because right now, like I said, I work 12-hour shifts, and I work days and night shifts. I work weekends. My schedule's all over the place as far as time of day and how long I'm there. So that's one big change, which is good because that'll help balance life. The other big change, which is the bigger change, is that I'm going back to school. And that is a crazy but good thought to me. When I finished high school, I took a year away from school. I didn't go straight into college because I was burnt. And I know a lot of people get that way. I was burnt out on school. I was burnt out on just the routine of it, I guess. I don't want, I'm not saying anything negative about school or education or anything, but just, you've been there. We've all been there. You kind of just burn out and you need a break. So I took a year off. I just worked right out of high school. And then after a year, I went back, started out at a local junior college or community college, as they're sometimes called. Did that for a year. And then I went to a 4-year university that is 400 miles away from home, which was a great experience. It was one of those where it's that whole getting out, the culture shock aspect of it, new experiences, forcing yourself to live with people you don't know, and the growth that can come from that as a person and all that. So that was amazing. Unfortunately, growing up a middle-class white boy, you don't get so much in financial aid. And it's just truth. I'm not trying to say anything, controversial or negative or anything. It's just truth. It's harder to get financial aid. And my parents didn't have the money to support me in college. I'm one of 4 kids. And, there's plenty of things they had to pay for, bills of their own they had to deal with. So they just financially, they couldn't. And so I, unfortunately, in my junior year of college, I had to drop out and I had to leave because I couldn't afford it anymore. It was just that simple. So I moved home, I worked, did all that, and I kind of put school by the wayside. Part of that was because I owed the school money for housing fees because I lived in the dorms. And until I could pay those off, they basically had a hold on my transcripts. So even if I tried to switch to, there's a 4-year university here in my hometown that, I could have attended, except because the first university had my transcripts on hold until I could pay them what I owed, I would have had to start over as a brand new freshman. And I didn't want to do that. And so I spent the time just working, and over time I realized I didn't want to do what I was originally in school for. So I basically was thinking of changing my major, and I didn't know what I wanted to be. I didn't know where I wanted to go with it. So I really just never went back. And I worked various jobs, retail, customer service kind of stuff mostly. And then, of course, I got married and I started a family of my own. I was doing that, and basically just life happened. And so people would always ask if I ever wanted to go back to school, and I always tell them I don't know, or, I don't even know what I would do, so I don't want to waste my time and money until I figure that out. And then recently, I got to a point where I realized I needed to finish. My wife has been going back to school and finishing her degree. She'll actually finish up by the end of this year. And then she should be going into her master's program shortly after that. But I wanted to finish my bachelor's. I wanted to start something big and finish it, is what it was. So I started looking at online universities just because they're much more conducive to the fact that I have a full-time job and I have a family to care for. I don't have the time or the ability to go to a 4-year university and go to classes on a regular basis like that as a full-time student. And that's the big thing, is I want to get this done. So I started researching. I actually ended up going to the same online school as my wife. I looked at another one, but as I got into the research of what their program looked like and all that, it just didn't seem like it would fit, which was my first choice, but that's fine. So I went with my second choice, which is working out great. I'm about a month in right now with my classes and doing all that. I obviously have a degree figured out, which is good. It's going to take me about 2 years to finish and get my bachelor's, which is good. And so it takes a lot of changes in my day-to-day to get that done, because I do have homework now. I do have studying to do. I have growth. And I think one of the biggest reasons I went back to school, not only for my own growth and personal success, but was also show my kids that it's never too late. It's never too late to start over. It's never too late to make a change. I'm 35 and I'm in school. And, my kids are young. One's in kindergarten, one's in second grade. But it shows them that even if for some reason you have to give up on something for now, you can always go back and finish it. You can always go back and change what you're doing and change your life situation. And so as I'm getting older, as I'm now 35, as another birthday has passed, it's good to look back. It's good to see that I can make those changes. I don't have to stay stuck in low level, good, but still kind of dead end jobs. I can go back, I can make those changes. And so as I looked back on kind of where my life has been and what changes I needed to make, I'm also looking forward towards what's to come, because the choices we make, the things we do, can have a great effect. I'm looking, 5-10 years in the future to when my kids will be grown up and they'll be, either graduating high school or about, just a few years away from that and becoming adults of their own, and what I'll be able to do after that. And so that's a big part of it too, is with my degree finished, I'll be able to get into a job that pays even better. I can put a lot of money away, I can save. And then when my kids are moved out and it's just my wife and I again, we can do things like if we want to travel or if we want to move into a different place, we can just do that. Or if we want to stay where we're at and just remodel and make changes and do, it just opens so many opportunities of things to do and experiences to have in the future. And so that's what I'm doing. That's getting older. That's what it does. That's not to say I'm growing up necessarily. If you saw my office, I know I've been in there as I walk around in these videos sometimes. There's plenty of things. I have Legos all over that room. I actually, for my birthday just last week, I got 3 new Lego sets and I have built them and they're awesome. And I love it because it's fun and it keeps that kid in you, which is great. And I know everybody should have something like that, whatever it may be. So while I'm growing older and being an adult at the same time, I'm making sure that I don't grow up too much, because you got to have your fun too. So I don't know. I just felt like saying all that. If you guys have any comments, if you want to tell me your experiences of growing older, the things you ruminate on as you think about things, feel free, comment down below, like the video, subscribe to the channel, and I will see you guys later.